So just coming up to 17 and a half minutes past 11 o'clock. Now, I'd find it difficult to climb the north face of Dinham Way in Exmouth, certainly not the three main mountain peaks in the United Kingdom. But one Honiton girl has. Let's talk to her now. She's called Sophie McKenney, and she's done the Three Peaks Challenge, and she's connected with Honiton Air Cadets. Good morning, Sophie.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in this morning. You didn't walk here or do any climbing to get here, did you?
No, just drove.
You just drove. That's the easy way out, isn't it? So, tell me, were you adventurous even, say, in primary school or bigger school?
Definitely through... primary school, I was part of Beavers and Cubs, so I was supposed to join Cubs at about 6, but instead Dad was like, nah, join at 5 3/4, and there was this challenge down where I used to live in Reading, and it was called the Winter Challenge, where for my age group of 6-year-olds it would be to walk 9 miles, and I walked it as a 5 3/4-year-old. I was the youngest to walk it, and we did that 2-3 years. And then when we moved down, I joined the Beavers down in Beer, and then we were doing loads of camps and just outdoor adventurous stuff, and I did Cubs and Scouts. I'm
guessing here that your dad had a big influence on you getting involved in all these adventures.
Yes, definitely. Dad was very much I've got the adventure gene, I'm going to give it to you, and then you can then, when I'm old enough, his theory was if he gets me into adventure early, he can then give me the company, and then I can carry on the adventures within the family.
You see, I know a little bit about your dad, and what I'm going to do, actually, and he's agreed to this, I'm going to get him in at a later stage to talk about him doing expeditions, because he's connected with Serrano Fines, a big man, big explorer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, I can see where you got all this from. So, tell me about the Honiton Cadets and how you got involved in that, for example.
So I left Scouts during the middle of COVID, and Dad was like, oh yeah, you should join Air Cadets, because I did Air Cadets as a kid, and he just used to tell me all these stories about what he did. So I was going to join during COVID, but we couldn't because there was no intake, and so I then joined in September of 21, and so I've been with the squadron since then. So now I'm a sergeant, and our squadron is about 40 to 50 cadets, and it's a good squadron. We are roughly in the centre of Honiton, so if you're coming off the high street, we're just down from Wetherspoons, and we have quite a large catchment area because we've got cadets who live down in Lyme Regis, Honiton itself, Ottery, all of those places. It's just everywhere, and normally we'll have 2 recruitments a year. We'll have one in the autumn and one in the spring, and that's for anyone 12 to 18 who's looking to join the Air Cadets.
And how long has the Air Cadets been going now?
The ATC as itself was formed in 1941 as to train ongoing pilots for the war, but I don't know how long my squadron has been around, but it's definitely been around a while.
Right. What we'll do is, when we finish the chat, we'll get the details of how people might want to get involved in the Honiton Air Cadets, because there may be people listening that could well want to do that. So we'll do that in a moment or two. So, come on, tell me about this amazing feat that you've done, the Three Peaks Challenge. Wow. I'm out of breath just thinking about this. Tell me how you got involved in it in the first place.
So... my dad, a couple of years ago, I think 2018, he did the 5 Peaks Challenge to help military veterans who are suffering from PTSD, and he thought, now that I've finished my exams, it would be a really, really good idea to do something fundraising for Squadron, because he's cheekily saying he's self-appointed himself the fundraising guy at Squadron.
Oh, I see.
So he thought it would be a good idea to do something, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do the 3 Peaks, because he's done it before, and so he roughly knows the route, so it's safer that way. So we drove up to Wales on Friday, the 12th of July, and that worked out well because I'd almost finished my exams a month before that, so I had plenty of time off. And so it's basically climbing the highest mountains in England, Scotland and Wales, and I like to call it in under 24 hours. And so you get to Snowdon, and the mountain itself to the summit is 3,560 feet. And so the clock starts at the bottom of Snowdon, and then you've got to climb up to Snowdon, and we did that in 1 hour, 58 minutes. And we started the clock at 8 o'clock, so it means we'd have to stop the clock at 8 o'clock at Ben Nevis. So then we had to climb back down Snowdon, drive 205 miles to Scafell Pike, which is the highest mountain in England, climb Scafell Pike, which is 3,209 feet, come back down Scafell, go from Scafell to Ben Nevis, which is the highest in Scotland, which is a 260-mile drive, and then climb Ben Nevis, which is a 4,413-foot climb, which then stops the clock at the top. But some people go the other way around, so they go Ben Nevis, so they go Scotland, England, Wales, but we went Wales, England, Scotland, because living down in Devon, we would be exhausted by the time we got up to Scotland, so we thought go for the slightly shorter drive, and then means we get more time coming back down the countries. So for a total of climbing and everything, it was 10,000 feet of climbing, all three mountains, 462 miles of driving between them, and the clock still goes when you drive as well.
Oh my.
And it was 18 miles of trekking.
You see, if I did any of those, I think I'd need oxygen. Now I'm been listening very carefully to what you've said here, and I think you're at a disadvantage as far with you and your dad here, because you mentioned 3 peaks and you mentioned about your dad who's done 5 peaks. What are the 2 you haven't done?
So the 2 mountains that I haven't climbed are Slieve Donard and Carrantoo Hill, which are in Northern and Southern Ireland. So then if you did the 5 peaks, it would be, you'd start in Ireland, you go Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland, Wales, England, Scotland, and then you'd finish, because Ben Nevis is the highest in the UK as a whole, you normally finish with that one, save the hardest till last, but also then it's more of a victory when you get to the top kind of thing. But we thought, but that will be in 48 hours rather than 24, because then you also got to factor in ferry crossings. So
you see, I'm thinking as a lap of honour here, you could still do the 2 in Ireland, couldn't you? I mean, obviously you've done the 3 peaks, and as a lap of honour, you could do just the 2 in Ireland.
Yeah, I did suggest that to Dad, and he was like, well, if you're going to just do those 2, you may as well do them all again. And I was thinking, I don't need to do them again. I've done them once. I can then go and do the island, and then I'm done.
So there you are. That's Dad pushing you again.
Yeah.
Shocking. So what other achievements have you got apart from doing the 3 peaks then?
So I've just completed my GCSEs, so I've come away from my school down in Lyme Regis, Woodruff, with 10 GCSEs. With school, I was also and have completed my silver DOV, so that was quite interesting, but it was quite good because that was last summer, but that was quite good because I knew that I had like the stamina to do long days, because you have to do long days walking with DOV. I am also the Southwest Intermediate pistol shooting champion for year, I think it was 2022, so I shoot air pistols, so that was quite an achievement, and I went to the nationals for that. And then in 2022 and 2023 I do tetriathlon, which is part of the Pony Club. So that's running, shooting, swimming and horse riding. And I went to the national championships those years. And then 2024, this year, back in February, I went to the Winter Triathlon Finals, which is the nationals for triathlon for Pony Club, which instead of cycling, you add in shooting. So it's running, shooting, swimming, but not together. You do them separately.
Are you going to have a rest for the rest of this year and next year?
Because I've had like a 11-week holiday, that's kind of been a rest, but kind of not, because I've still been very much up and going. But I might try and have a rest, but I don't really need one. I'm young, I can keep going.
Tell me about training then.
I hate to admit this, but I didn't actually do any training for the 3 peaks because I have some weird things going on with my knees at the minute, because I've just kept growing, really. I haven't stopped properly. Like, my height's just still changing constantly. And so some days, if I do sport or activity, it will just aggravate my knees and it will make it really difficult to, like, walk around because it hurts. So there was either 2 things. I could train for it and risk my knees hurting and damaging my knees beforehand, or I could just leave it and just hope my knees hold out. So we chose to leave it and hold out, and just kept pushing on. There wasn't any pain, thank God, luckily. But yeah, I hate to admit I did no training for it. I just got on with it, really.
Right. Well, it sounds as though it was the right decision to take, and you survived, and everything was good.
Yeah, it wasn't my knees. It was the problem. It was Dad being kind of old, and I hate to admit, but his back is going slightly in his knees.
Oh, do you know what? I'm glad you said that, and I didn't say a word about that, but there we are. No doubt you will have words in the car on the way home. But there we are.
Politely saying his health conditions.
There we are. And it's live radio, so we can't cut that bit out either. Funding, because you did raise some money, didn't you, by doing the Three Peaks Challenge? Do we know how much you made? It's all right, Dad's in the corner. He can shout the answer.
£3,395 so far.
Lovely.
And
I think we all got that.
That's still going
Thank you,
up.
Dad. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's quiet in the corner there. Okay, so what is next then for you? Because I would have thought that's enough to be going on with.
So next for me is I'm starting my A-level course in September, so I've got that to worry about. But I also would like to do Gold DofE through school, and I think that would be quite a good thing to do. But then we're also looking to potentially do a kayaking or cycling expedition next year, because we thought it's all well and good sticking to hiking, but it's not going to get as much coverage if it's just the same repetitive thing, so we want to mix it up. So we are looking at doing some sort of expedition in 25.
So when you leave school then, okay,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? I'm guessing, rightly or wrongly, you might want to have something to do with sport.
I would love to carry on all my sporting activities, but I also would like to join up to the Royal Air Force, because being an Air Cadet, it doesn't push you to go that way, but it does definitely help if you want to go down the military route, or even joining any cadet group. It does definitely help along the course.
And it's a very good thing to do as well, of course it is. So, young people listening to the programme, we do have them, believe it or not. How do you encourage them to do what you've done?
So, I talk to people when I go out. If they have heard about it through Facebook, or like their parents have heard about it, I would chat to them. So it's always like school or the radio or cadets or like cadet groups, because I went on a camp the other day and I was wearing my branded t-shirt and they were like, oh, what's that? That sounds really exciting. Or I've been my story's been published in like the local newspapers, or just through the sponsors that I've been given. It goes out on all their media pages, and then if people are interested in cars and in Mazda, you'll see it on Mazda's page, or you'll see it on like the tracking page. So there's lots of places to find it.
Right, let's split the contact details in two, if we may. First of all, give us the contact details if people want to find out more about the Honiton Air Cadets. And then talk to me about how people can find out more about you and the Three Peaks Challenge.
So if you search up 1064 Honiton Air Cadet Squadron, you'll find all the information about it. You can either go on to, we've got a Facebook page that you can look on. I think we've also got an Instagram page, but not necessarily just Honiton, but there are other squadrons. Like there's one in Sidmouth, Exmouth, there's an Army Cadet Squadron in Honiton. There's lots of different squadrons depending what you're into, but there's like Sea Cadets, Army Cadets and Air Cadets. It just depends really what you're into. But then also for the Just Giving side, the Three Peaks side of it, if you go on to Just Giving's website and you look up Sophie McKenney spelled MacKenney, it should come up with a photo, and then you can look at all the details, and there's lots of different information on there about how much we've raised, what we're raising it for, who's like my patron was Sir Ranulph Fiennes, the explorer, but lots of other famous people have not put their name to it, but they've given supporting words, and then lots of other very high-ranking officers within the Air Force and some other people have put not their name to it, but they've said well done and given their support.
You see, I'm exhausted listening to you because of all the things you've done, and I haven't done any of this. I feel strange now because I haven't really. I do a lot of walking in my day job, but nothing near what you've done, and I take my hat off to you. I think you're brilliant, and you're a good role model for young people today. I have to say that.
Thank you.
And your dad's responsible, basically, isn't he? Because he goaded you into doing all this in the first place.
It didn't really help that when I was really young, he used to do lots and lots of expeditions. So, like, I remember I was, like, 4 years old and he was off driving around Siberia with veterans
As you
doing
do.
all sorts of random stuff. So it's always, like, if I used to ask Mum when I was little, where's Dad? And it would be like, oh, yeah, he's out on another expedition. And he was... I wouldn't say he was barely at home, but because I was so little, it doesn't help that I don't really remember, but I remember he was always away. So.
Okay. Right, on that note, listen, thank you so much, Sophie, for coming in.
That's all right,
It's been terrific to talk to you. Thank you so much. And keep up the good work, won't you?
Will do, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to get your dad in on a separate occasion because he's got a lot to talk about and, being connected with Sir Ranulph Fiennes, the wonderful explorer, and loads more besides. So we'll arrange that maybe in 1 or 2 months' time. Suffice to say, thank you, Sophie, for coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Sophie McKenney, who is a member or was a member of the Honiton Air Cadets, but she's done recently the 3 Peaks Challenge. And if you've still got that pen and paper, I will give you the details of not only the Honiton Air Cadets, of how to get in touch with them, but also how to get in touch regarding Sophie and the 3 Peaks Challenge. That's coming up after this one. And it's the new one from the Pet Shop Boys.